started logging in, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you're located today. Welcome to Builder Partnerships Webinar Wednesday. Our webinar today is the Financial Forum Indicators and Trends Impacting Home Building. And today, Jim will be speaking specifically on building more excellence and less frustration. Go ahead and switch the slide, Jim. Before we get started, I do have a few housekeeping items. Although you are all muted, we still encourage you to ask questions. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see there's a Q&A speech bubble. Go ahead and click on that as we go through the program and you can ask questions. We'll try to get to those if there's a break in the presentation. If not, we'll hold all the questions until the very end. If you need anything specific from me or one of the panelists, you can click on the chat function there and reach me directly, and I'll see what I can do to help you in the background. We are recording this, so if you want to revisit the program, you can revisit it at a later time. And of course, we always welcome your comments and suggestions. At the end of the webinar, we'll have a survey for you to fill out to tell us what you thought. We want to thank our sponsor today. They're a longtime partner of Builder Partnerships, and we have loved working with them over the years. ECI. ECI Software Solutions provides industry-specific cloud-based business software solutions and services across 9 different industries. In 2017, Mark Systems, along with LotView, became a member of the family of products. Lasso CRM, and most recently Builder Tools, a solution for custom builders and remodelers, round out our offerings currently available for the residential home construction market. For over 35 years, Mark Systems has been in the home building industry leading single platform. Completely integrated, easy to use cloud-based solution and maximizes business efficiency for home builders and product developers. Leveraging industry knowledge and ECI's expertise in business software across industries, Mark Systems continues to evolve and provide leading support to its users. Built by ECI and powered by Cognitix, Mark Systems executive dashboards allow home building executives and managers to easily identify ways to improve their business performance, assessing powerful analytics and that highlight important key performance indicators for your business. The dashboards give you the ability to drill down into project details to see underperforming areas without running multiple reports or doing manual calculations. Another great thing about ECI is that we do have integration with them and Builder Partnerships, so it does help improve the ease of your rebate solutions. So if you have more questions about ECI, you can contact them directly or call us at Builder Partnerships to help you out. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim. This is his 3rd financial forum. We're really excited to have him work with us on this. He specializes in management, marketing, sales, operations, finance, quality, valuation, effective ownership, leadership, transition, and performance excellence. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to you, Jim.
Thanks very much, Emma Jane. And what she really means there is I've done all kinds of things in the home building industry and all kinds of other industries. And I've learned an awful lot of ways not to do things and a few things that seem to work. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Welcome. We're going to talk about 2 things today. One, what are some of our basic indicators? Where are we and where do we think things may go so that we can plan for that? Then the second thing is how can we create some excellence and then maintain it, mainly in our business, but it could also be focused on our department or your career as well. And just to let you know, I'm willing to meet with 5 builders who let me know. We'll have a Zoom session for 15 minutes, and we'll just go over how you track the indicators and what kind of decisions you make on those. So feel free to email me if you want to take advantage of that. The general themes that we've been doing for, I'm going to even add the first one I did, which was pandemic investing. So this would be the 4th one, is really that it seems like whatever's going on, COVID magnifying whatever trend or opportunity or problem that existed before then, whether that's in technology or society or our economies. We've been talking about different indicators and trends and forecasts what's useful and what's dangerous. Especially what's dangerous is believing anyone who tells you a forecast. What's useful is how you plan for what is good or what is bad or what might happen. Do a lot of contingency action plans around those, especially so we can improve the returns and mitigate or moderate the risks in our businesses and our personal lives. So we're talking a lot about that, originally about what strategies should we have for land or people or cash or investors or lenders, or what had been some of those PPP loans and things like that. We're going to focus a little more today on how to moderate risks and increase returns, basically by creating more excellence in our world and less frustration, which also helps our lenders, investors as well. And if to the extent you've got any topics or issues that are important to you, financially especially, just let us know, and we'll start focusing on those in the upcoming months. So where are we today? I'll talk about a few numbers in a moment, but I would say these pictures seem to get where we're at right now. We're either spending a lot of time in public, which we used to not do a few months ago, and many of us have masks on and some of us don't, and that's a whole new thing. And then there's some social activities that either look like they're simple protests and gatherings outside, or sometimes they degenerate into destroying and burning things. And so that's the reason I mention those is I think those are really impacting our housing market. We'll talk about that in just a second. Permits have been doing pretty stably for residential permits. There's been a shift between multifamily permits, which used to be growing substantially. Now it's more single family permits, and multifamily permits aren't growing hardly at all. In fact, they're declining. Single family's been doing pretty well. Even since November, we had that big drop in May. But ever since then, sales have been increasing pretty steadily. We had a huge increase this last month. Median home prices and average home prices are increasing. New home inventory is dropping. There's less than 5 months supply. And it's really puzzling because employment is not growing. In fact, employment is going down still. We've got 30 million people on unemployment, whether it's federal or state, which is huge, and that doesn't reflect the people who are not even employed very many hours or making much. What that's doing to the home building market, it's causing our sales to be volatile. They're down a lot, and then they've been up a lot the past few months, and so production's trying to catch up. So production's been even more volatile, in some cases less, but we think, for example, that we went down. I'll give you one example of a couple builders I know, actually, where sales went down and production dropped in April and May, and then it's been coming back June through August, and we're trying to match the sales pace, but that's really tripling in some cases the production volume of starts from May, and that's just impossible. So we're seeing all kinds of cycle time extensions, delays in many activities, quality problems. There's various choke points and bottlenecks with different trades, whether it's lumber or cement or appliances or cabinets, or you name it, it's different times for different places. And all of those things are going to start affecting our profits this year. Everybody's been selling. Unit volume's been just great. Some builders are having record years in terms of unit volume. But what's happening is they just aren't raising their prices much. Builders are very timid when it comes to raising prices. And so costs have just been going up and up and up, whether that's lumber, whether that's labor. If you can even get some folks sometimes to show up, or even get some of the material supplies to show up, because the supply chain's been disrupted because of all the COVID stuff all over the world. So we're going to see potentially profits get cut in half. Easily 3 to 6 points maybe the drop this year, even though people may have as good or higher volume than they had last year. Remember that the pre-sales that people are making right now probably aren't going to close till next year, so we won't even see them in this year's volume. I'll give you just one example of pricing in between a few folks I know who bought new homes and existing homes recently. The folks who bought existing homes, they're just trying to figure out what the premium they should put on their offer to say, I will pay $10,000 to $50,000 more than the offer you get. That was the only decision they were trying to make, because people are losing offers all over the place. Whereas a new home purchaser, they were just asked, well, which lot do you want, and how do you want to use the $2,000 or $3,000 we have available for discounts and points. So it's a very different mindset between existing homes that are being sold and the new homes that are being sold right now. Seeing that in many of our builder clients, we just very reluctant to raise prices. So here's a simple forecast and what's also happening in the home building market. Think that we may have two shapes, a K and a W. The K-shaped recovery is really for professionals are going to be doing great and everyone else is going to be doing poorly. That's what we're seeing in the way employment and income is. And when I say professionals, I mean not only the people who are working from home, but the people who are working on homes or in homes. The professionals, the craftsmen that we employ, for example, they are overwhelmed with work, whether that's for remodeling or renovation work on existing homes, or that's for new home builders. So it becomes even more critical that we builders are a builder of choice, one that the trade partner chooses, not just because we think we choose them. And then on the right side, there's just a potential way that the recovery might look like. I like it because it says it's a Rocky Mountain recovery, and that's where we are, the Shin Group and me, in the Rocky Mountain, in Colorado. And what that really is a series of W's, which just means it's going to be volatile. Some parts of the economy are going to come back faster, like the home building market has come back faster, the mortgage market, some financial markets, including stocks and bonds. Whereas some markets are just dead in the water, whether that's hospitality industry or recreation and tourism and airlines, obviously. So those things are going to shift. It's just what I would get ready for. It's going to be highly volatile and very diverse as to who's going to make more money and who's going to lose more money. Fortunately for us builders, the people who are making money are buying homes, and they're buying homes for several reasons. Let me just skip to that real quick. They're buying reasons because of those pictures. Sorry, those pictures that I just showed. They're buying homes because they're tired of having to wear masks all the time they go out inside the city, and their restaurants aren't even open, their favorite restaurants. Or they're tired of trying to shop and the places closed down or full of people that they can't even walk through. So people, if you're going to work from home anyway, and if your kids are going to be home, why don't we buy a home that is out somewhere that we can use? So that's what people are doing. Employment growth. Let's just review some of the forecasts we've made over the past few months. It's been slowing. It's still very low. If any, it looks like it's still declining. It's probably going to continue to decline for the next 3 to 12 months. We'll just have different spurts, whether that's because of COVID lockdowns or not. There's going to be many follow-on effects of employment affecting different industries. Inflation seems like it's supposed to be low. I mean, the published rates are low, but I can't see it. In the stuff that we buy in the home building business and the stuff that you buy personally, I see everything going up. The prices are going up constantly. So maybe there's somewhere, somehow, the way the government is calculating inflation, it's still low. But for the stuff that most people are buying, it's just going up and up and up. Interest rates has been a great bright spot for us on both the marketing side and the financial production side. Rates are very low, under 3% for most homeowners, sometimes as low as 2 to 2.25% for 15-year mortgages. But the mortgage terms are much tighter. Their qualification standards are much tougher. You got to have much stronger employment history, much better FICO scores, and if you're self-employed, good luck to you. That's going to be hard. Building permits, we just talked about, they're going pretty well, still pretty steady, may be the very best part of the economy. That might be what is causing the economy to go up, is everything to do that people are doing at home or on their homes. Stock market, wow, down then up. Seems like it's just defying every expectation there is. Bond market as well, down then up, and actually up and then down and then up again. But maybe both of those are going to be set up for a few W's in the next year or so. Real estate prices, especially single family homes, keep going up. Almost everything else in real estate is not going up, and in fact, there's probably some bargains starting to be had. But watch out for home prices. When the mortgage and eviction moratoria are off, and lenders and landlords can finally kick people out of their homes and foreclose, there's going to be a huge amount of shadow inventory on the market. Probably isn't going to happen until after the election, may never happen depending on who gets elected. Things that are going great for us right now is we just got the lowest home inventory in ever. We've got great demographics. You know, people in the 25 to 40 year range, they have been in apartments in the cities and they are ready to move out, whether they got kids or whether they just want to try something else. They're ready to move and plant a garden somewhere else and go get a beer outside with their friends and enjoy themselves a bit. And they're moving out. They're moving out to the suburbs, they're moving out to rural places, to smaller towns, to states that have less density. They're moving, you know, Governor Cuomo's trying to get everybody to move back because he knows they're all moving out. So Emma Jane's got some other questions a little bit, but I want you to think about it. You don't need to have to tell us, but how is your region doing? How is your city, the municipalities that you work in, how is your state doing? I'll just review a little bit with your business. Everybody seems to be having a better business. I'll do that in just a second, Emma Jane. See if you can ask those other questions first. There we go. So I'll just talk about them briefly. Is it easier, harder, or the same to get sales? Next one, is it easier, harder, or the same to raise your prices? Third one, is it easier, harder, or the same to maintain your schedule, your cycle time, and your deliveries? And then the last one, is it easier, harder, or the same to maintain your quality standards? And I just got a note that my internet connection is unstable, so I am going off camera. Maybe that'll help. All right. I'm going to keep going a little bit, and Emma Jane, when you get the answers to them, just put them up there.
It looks like everybody's still answering. I'll give it another 30 seconds, and then we'll post the results for both polls.
And this is just a little template for you to think about once a month. How are you doing in your market? How are your customers doing? How are you doing with your customers? How are you doing with your product? Or your customers think your product's doing? How are you doing with your promotional efforts, whether that's online or traditional? How are they working? How are you doing with the various processes that you have? And especially these days, how are you doing with your trade partners? How are they doing with you? And then there's probably a few other folks. It could be lenders, it could be investors, could be other key folks. So let's just go through some of these answers real quick. Way easier to get sales, no surprise there. Seems like it's harder to raise prices. How does that make sense? If it's really easy to sell stuff, but somehow it's hard to raise prices, something's out of whack there, and my guess it's between our ears most of the times. Look at this, really harder to maintain schedule, cycle time, and deliveries. Quality's even harder. No surprises there with everyone. Let's look at the answers to that first survey, if you don't mind, Emma Jane. I would say this group of people is very representative of everybody we talk to, all the surveys we see as well. Business seems to be better, but for a few people, it's the worst or the same. So it's a little bit spotty depending on where you're at, but still 2 to 1, it's better, which is what we're hearing pretty normally. Outlook for the business. 4 out of 5 people think that things are going to get better in our business. That's pretty strong. That's really strong. Then how much are you guys working? Everybody is working their tail off. Almost everybody is, or are working the same. I want to find those people who are working the same, because you guys have figured out some stuff that we all need to learn about as well. We're going to talk about the working more in a bit, and maybe a little bit on some of the pricing at some point. But thank you very much for filling that out. We'll keep asking some of these questions over time, because these are actually very good guide as to what's happening in the world, especially our home building world. Now I'll see if I can make the slide go again. So here's the implications of all those things that we're starting to put way more home offices and home studies in our products. If you haven't designed that yet as an option or a standard feature, get on it. It's a big deal. And a lot more security features, not only for the physical exterior and interior of your home, but for a lot of the online and the way your Wi-Fi works, so that people can't go swipe stuff just by sitting outside your house. And then outdoor living is a huge deal, no matter where you are, no matter what the season. Pools, patios, gardens, you pick, there's all kinds of things so that you can invite people over and everybody can have their own little space and still hang out together. Appliances and fixtures are changing all over the place, because people want different things, especially the non-touchable ones. You know, that's just great stuff that we just wave our hand in front of it and things go on and off. Don't have to touch it. No more COVID stuff. Good things. As well as security goes along with cleanliness. How can we keep things clean so that they're safe? Process has been changing rapidly. If you don't have an ability for your clients, and I would say even your trade partners these days, and I would move to having your manufacturers and suppliers doing the same. If you guys can't chat fast, you got to get on it. You got to be able to chat with people as soon as they ask a question so you can resolve their issue. Move to a regular Zoom call. Ideally, that chat for your customer is aimed towards creating an appointment. That's the whole purpose of that chat, so we can get someone in and have an appointment, whether on Zoom or preferably in our model. Then once we're talking to folks, we got regular Zoom and phone calls with our clients so that we can stay up to speed with what's going on in their life, and they can stay up to speed with what's going on with their home and how they should take care of it and what's going on with their mortgage. People should be able to preview and make selections online, at the very least preview them, so that you can streamline your process, and that's what people are used to. That's how they buy things. Then we have to have better processes to decide, what are we going to do with land versus our cash? Do we want to buy that land deal or not? People decisions. Do we need more people because everybody's overworked, or do we want to keep our cash? Or do we want to improve our processes so people can do things better and faster without being overworked? Trade partner decisions are bigger and bigger every day. And guess what? They're making decisions about you all the time. Because when they give you a 30% price increase, that isn't just because they can go get the money somewhere else for 30% higher. It's also sending you a message that you're at least 30% more painful to work with sometimes. So be careful of those price increases as well and what they're telling you. We've been talking about these different things, these themes over the past few months. What decisions are you going to make? What plans and actions are you going to take if something happens? If contingency A happens or contingency B? If we sell more, if we sell less? What are we going to do if we sell faster than we can produce? Do we even know how fast we can produce and what our choke points are? What are the returns that we're making and the risks that we're taking, for example, by selling too many homes. Aren't we taking a lot more risks and reducing our returns by selling faster than we can produce, especially in a rising cost environment? Not seeing a lot of people paying attention to that right now. Everybody just patting themselves on the back every Monday morning because all the extra sales we got. Lenders and investors, we are a bright spot. Lenders love home building right now. They are reserving huge amounts every single month, every single quarter for every industry. So watch out. At some point, we're going to get hit by some of those lenders because they just won't have a choice. So make sure you are communicating with those folks regularly about what's going on with your business and doing some projections about what your profitability is going to look like so you don't surprise them and giving them an excuse to pull your line next year. Then we talked about how to gather strategic information so you can innovate and make good decisions for the long run. Today, we're going to spend a little bit more time on how to create excellence and maintain it. Mainly in your business, could be in your department if you're not the owner of the business. And if you're not even running the department, you can at least figure out how to do it for your career. There's three basic things we got to do. We have to have a purpose as to what we're trying to accomplish and why. We have to have some sort of principles under which we're going to operate. And then we have to have excellent habits. I would call it an operation manual because that's what we've called here in the Shin group for decades. But as soon as I say manual, people think I'm all old style. And as soon as I say operation, that goes along with system and process, and it just puts you to sleep. So what I mean when I say excellent habits is you got to have stuff written down that tells you how to do things all the time so anybody can find it. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Final thing you have to have is a necessary mindset. So you have to be able to think in an excellent way. Again, I would call that think systemically and disciplined. But most people don't quite get it. That seems too jargony. And discipline, oh great, that sounds like someone's going to hit me over the head with a ruler. So those two words just turn people off all the time. What we're talking about is think in an excellent way. And an excellent way is to think in terms of systems and do so on a regular basis about the things you need to think about, not the things that distract you all the time. Then the second piece is we have to perform with excellence. We need to have systemic and disciplined action every day, every week, every month. And doing it just a little bit in the now is going to make a huge difference in your life. Think about it in terms of separating three kinds of work that you have. And I would challenge you to document the kinds of work that you do over the next couple weeks into just these three categories. The first one is, am I working on our systems? And what I mean by a system, it's a collection of elements that produces a pattern of results. And it has two other elements. Those results are intended for a good purpose, some good intent or aim that we have. And the second thing is it's repeatable. This is something that's going to happen over and over again. Even if it's just once a year, it's going to happen over and over again. So that's a system. So we're defining and working on our systems and improving them. That's the first kind of work we do. And I would say that's the highest and best kind of work you can do. The next kind of work you can do is working in or operating or executing those systems, actually doing the things, actually living the habits that you've created, the ways that you said you're going to do things, in the way that you said you're going to do it, to make sure that it's happening the right way. That's the second best kind of activity we can do, is actually doing things that we said we would do because we believe it's the right way to do it. And then there's everything else. That's things like firefighting or distractions or waste. Think about how many times you are acting more as a firefighter rather than a fire marshal. What I mean by a firefighter, that's the hero who goes and puts out the fire, who just goes above and beyond and risks his life to make things better for the customer. The business is just dedicated and works all kinds of hours and is out there in its flash, making things, get things fixed, taking care of all those problems. versus the fire marshal. The fire marshal is the person who prevents the problem in the first place. There is no fire. The fire marshal never knows that he or she accomplished anything because the bad thing never happened. And that to me is what we need to start working on way more, is being more like the fire marshal than trying to be like the fireman. And I'm not denigrating firemen at all. I think they're wonderful. But what I'm suggesting is even the firemen, when they come out and do things, they're always telling people, here's what you can do with your house, here's what you can do with your property so that you have less risk of a fire, because they don't want to go risk their lives. They don't want to do all that stuff either. So even the very best firemen are always acting like fire marshals. Your purpose, you can do it in a few different ways. There's a hedgehog concept, a big, hairy, audacious goal, and a flywheel that Jim Collins has written about a lot, especially in Good to Great. Those are great tools. You can create a strategic objective for your business. You can have a story about your company. There's all kinds of folks who've talked about that, including Michael Gerber at the eMyth, and then all kinds of process improvement folks have talked about that method. And then there's the classic mission or vision, which all kinds of business folks have talked about for decades. Just to have something really clear that makes sense as to why you're doing this and what are the big picture things you're trying to accomplish, the big strategies that you're trying to use to accomplish what your purpose is. Then you're going to have something called guiding principles, which are those core values, those things that you're going to do, that you're going to use to make decisions and take actions from the biggest picture ever. It's who you are and what you stand for, the things that we're not going to negotiate, the things that define who we are not and what we won't do, just as well as what it is that we will do. The two of those things really add up to what Jim Collins calls a core ideology. It's the basis for everything you do. It's just a few pages long, maybe one page for the purpose and a few pages for all those principles. One of the most important things it has is creating a not to do list. Here are the things that we're not going to do every day, the things we're never going to do, even if it's an opportunity that's presented to us. Those are the things that are really important because they keep you from falling off a cliff or distracting yourself over and over doing things that really aren't that important. It takes a couple days to get half of this done or more, maybe a couple months, just a few minutes at a time to get to 80 to 90% of it. And then it could be stable for 100 years or as long as your business is going to last. It's a great way to start out. And it's not that hard to create at the beginning. Most of you already, it's more defining who you already are. It's not trying to come up with some aspirational, who do I want to be? It's saying, who am I right now? What are we as a business? What makes us good? What makes us bad? Do more of the good, a lot less of the bad, and do it in the way that's most important to us. Now, the most important thing that you're going to spend a lot of time on is creating that company operation manual, those documented habits of excellence. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's the indicators we're going to use to tell us whether we're on track or off track so we can control, or as Lee Evans used to say, compel events to conform to our plan. This is just a simple collection of all the systems, processes, procedures, protocols, checklists, schedules, all the things that we don't think of as a process or a system, but they're just merely things we write down as to how we do things, or things we say in an email, or things we tell people in a conversation. Here's how you should do something. Compile it all in one place, in one format, so it's accessible, easily to understand and figure out. It's the most intangible and best value of your business. This is what causes a business to be worth more than merely the market value of its assets. If you've got a great collection of systems that someone can come in and figure out how to do, and they got a bunch of money, they'll actually buy that business. They won't buy the business where they can't figure it out, or they definitely won't pay you much more than the liquidation value of the assets. This is derived from your purpose and your principles. You're using those all the time when you're creating these, when you're making decisions. It always has some sort of measure or quantification so you can control it. And what I mean by control is if you're telling someone how to do something, you should make sure that that something was done the way you intended. Or if there's something that's going on that keeps it from happening the way it should, either on time or on schedule or on cost, then you know about it with enough lead time to fix it, to take care of it. And that's the whole point of having objective leading metrics to tell you whether your systems and your processes are on track or not, whether they're going to lead towards the results that you want, which are raving fans as customers, trade partners who think you're the best in the world, and profits that are superior. Those kinds of metrics are the result or lagging metrics that we all desire. But the only way we're going to get there is through managing the activities and the tasks that we do every day. This, by having documentation and something measured and quantified, it helps us figure out the opportunities or threats that we're going to improve or innovate. We can be a lot faster in responding to market changes if we already have information about it. You can't believe how much waste and especially frustration being able to do things right saves. The biggest thing that can make an employee believe that you care about them is if you're very clear about what they're supposed to do in their job, and you remove the waste and frustration that keeps them from being able to do their job. Just those few things will cause employees to be happy and productive. Having these documented systems gives you a place to save more time by having fewer of that last category of time where you're fighting fires and working on distractions and waste, and you can spend more time on that first category, which is working on your business, your career, your department, your systems, your processes. So you can make better and more consistent quality, improve your reputation, not only with your customers, but with your trade partners, which is obviously a big deal these days, and your employees. And if you do those things, the profits will come. I guarantee you, the companies that have the most superior profits always have the most superior processes and systems, and most of them have some form of documentation. This is very simple to do. It requires half an hour a day. It doesn't have to be done every single day. You can put it into an hour and a half one day, an hour another day, but you got to do it every week. Over time, if you can start spending about 15% of your work week on this, you can't believe the effect that will have, the momentum that will create in your business, in your department, in your career, in your life. One of the easiest way to do this is you already have a bunch of stuff that's already written down. Compile them all, put them all in one place. Here's all the stuff that each person has on their desk, is how to do things, on their computer, how to do things. Everybody has this stuff. It's just siloed into every little compartment that each person has or each department has. Bring them all together in one place. All those things that describes how things should be done or how they shouldn't be done. And then start developing our own system of systems where we're going to put all these together. Who's going to be the process owner for each system? What are the categories we're going to have? How are we going to name these systems and processes and maybe even number them? It could be leadership and management and finance and accounting and sales and marketing. It could be whatever makes sense to you. And then what's going to be a description or the basic purpose of each process? So it's very easy for someone to find whatever it is that they work on. And the process owner is not the person who necessarily has to be managing the process. It doesn't have to be the person who's doing all the work in the process. It's just the person who's responsible for making sure that documentation stays current and that the indications as to whether it's working or not are being reported to the right people at the right time. And if something needs to change or being improved on that process, that process owner is involved in it and can make it happen. And if you've got every process, every system assigned to one person in your company, it's very easy if someone changes duties or leaves the company or a new person is added, it's very easy for you to change who's now the process owner for that group of processes. It's pretty easy to start with paper. Once you've got it all on paper, you can move it all to one of your drives. You can even put it on a cloud or Google Drive. There's also all kinds of manuals online to do this kind of work. So usually they're, I don't know, 30 to 50 bucks a person per month for that kind of thing. So some folks don't want to do it, but they're very helpful. You can also use really easy, quick videos these days to explain and demonstrate a process, which is a great way to train people. And it's a great way for you to explain it without having to spend a lot of time writing a lot of words. Just show people how framing this window needs to be. That's way easier than having all kinds of procedures and pictures. You can still use written procedures, you can still use construction drawings, but also show a little video of how it should be done, because everybody learns in different ways. Then you got to decide how you're going to pilot it, communicate it, and control that process. Are you going to roll it all out at once, because it's pretty easy to do and everybody should know it all at once? Or is it kind of new, so we're going to start with one person or one place or one community, and then we're going to add to that? How are we going to communicate it? We're going to, in our regular meetings, we can communicate it that way, or we can have a special meeting, all hands. We're just going to talk about it right now. Can we do it as part of our job training? This is an outstanding way to train people. It's one of the best ever. Do we want to demonstrate it on a computer so we can show people, just gather around my computer, let me show you how it works, especially if it's a process that integrates with something like Mark Systems or any of the other ECI systems or any kind of computer system you've got. One of the simplest ones is how to do an email. How many emails do you guys get that you're sick of? Maybe it would be nice to have an actual email protocol and everybody can learn how to write an email and send it the right way so it doesn't drive everybody nuts all the time. Or you can decide when someone or something changes, here's what we're going to do. How are we going to implement our method of control? Is it embedded in the process itself? Like at the end of the meeting, we just will evaluate the meeting. Did this meeting accomplish its purpose? Yes or no? Did this meeting accomplish its goals for the meeting? And the way we did it, was this the most productive way, or is there a way we can improve it? That's an embedded control feature, just part of the process itself. And then how are we as a leader or a manager going to monitor whether our processes are being controlled? Are we going to do it on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, and which ones are we going to pay attention to so that we know that whatever improvements we make stay improved, they're maintained, they don't disappear in 3 years. A couple ways to do this is measuring the tangible. We measure what's objective, something can.
Did we lose you, Jim?
Okay, I'm going to move forward. So just, you can quantify intangible things and test whether they're actually working okay. You know, for example, we want employees to be productive in our company and engaged and happy, and we want to be their builder of choice. You could do the exact same questions almost for your trade partners as well. You have a scale of -5 to +5, but you got to define them. The worst one is employees are frustrated, confused, down, unproductive. The best one is they're satisfied, engaged, motivated, productive, and innovative. And then people can just walk around and rate folks. How does it look like? You can just, people notice this. It's very easy to rate it. And if you do it over time, just one person, or if you have 3 to 5 people doing it over time, or even if you're a bigger company, if you got 30 people doing it over time, you're going to get a really solid, reliable measurement. And again, we'll ask about the questions you have today, but think about also topics that you think are important from a financial standpoint, a big picture, a strategic standpoint, or anything else, so that we can work on this in the future. Some of the next steps, I spend a lot of time, Ed spends, Rick spends a lot of time. We are spending time on 30-minute to 90-minute sessions with our clients once a week, helping them improve their processes and their products, and you cannot believe the changes that are happening just by spending 4 weeks at a time focusing on 1 or 2 different things. We're also thinking of having a performance excellence and operational excellence course, so we can show you how to do this in 4 to 8 weeks, and you can learn it in hour to 2 hour sessions. Questions? Emma Jane, you just let me know what to do from here.
All right, we have one question from Annette, and she is commenting on how everyone is so busy, they literally laugh at the documenting process. Do you think it's worth it to bring an attempt to help do that writing?
Yes, to a certain extent, yes. But here's what I'm going to suggest. Take whatever someone's working on right now, the problem that someone is working on that's frustrating them right now, whether it's a customer issue, a trade partner issue. I'll give you an example. I got a client who's got to go get a new plumber because the previous guy just raised his prices huge much, so I got to go get a new plumber. I don't have time to do this. Great. So let's go get a new plumber, and you tell me what you're going to do to get that new plumber, and here's what's going on with it and how that's happening. And I'm just writing down the stuff. He has to have someone else just sitting there writing down the things. Okay, well, I'm going to go compile this, and I'm going to go call these folks, and I'm going to go to make this drive, and then I'm going to look at this. That's the steps. Is documenting something you're already working on. And then the next piece is you have to have, okay, so I've spent all the time fixing this problem. So now, and I'll just take that plumber example, I've got a new plumber hired, so I don't want to go through this again. So maybe I want to just have a job ready, job complete checklist so that plumbers can tell me that the job is ready and that they've got clear plans and specifications and POs and color sheets so that it's really easy for them to do the work, and then they get paid on time. And I have a very simple evaluation process, and they tell me once a month how it's going, and we have a discussion. That's a control process that's part of that process. So now I don't have to go hire someone every time, and it's a shock. So my suggestion is build process documentation into fixing the problems that you're already dealing with. That's the easiest way to do it. Then you start saving some time. The next thing is you just simply ask people, what do they spend the most time on? I was doing this with a client yesterday. She's an HR director. I spend 4 to 6 hours a day with people just dropping in on meetings. So we went through the different kinds of meetings. And just in 40-minute session, I think she thinks that we came up with a way for her to save an hour and a half a day right now. And we'll test it again next week. Just simple things of what are you spending your time on right now? And then let's go figure out how to improve and document the thing that causes you to spend the most time on something. Just that frees up some time to now go work on processes. I hope that helps, Annette. That's a great question. Thank you.
We have another question from John Karofsky. He's a regular webinar visitor. Thanks for joining us again today, John. His question is, what effect will the unrest, riots, etc., and the election will have on the people's home buying decisions in the next 60 days?
Well, I do not have the benefit of a crystal ball. It's a wonderful question. I wish we all knew the answer to that. What I'm going to suggest is a way to think about that. Think about what might cause them to want to buy more homes and what might cause them to want to buy fewer homes. What might cause them to be happier with the homes that they buy and what might cause them to be less satisfied with the homes they buy. Use those potential things to imagine what could happen and then plan for those things and take action, develop action plans for each. For example, one of the things that I'm working on all the time is what happens if the Republicans win the White House and the Senate? And then what happens if the Democrats win the White House, the Senate, and the House? What might be different? What might be different in our business, in our lives? And then just start planning for both. Because we can't predict, but we can imagine and we can plan. That's what we can control. sorry if you feel like I punted on that question, but anyone who tells you they can predict those kind of things is a charlatan in my mind.
So we don't have any other questions, but we've got a small group left. So if anybody would like to raise their hand, I can allow you to talk and ask further questions. Otherwise, we will, Jim, you can switch to the next slide. I'll just cover a few last minute items and we'll wait and see if there's any other questions. Just a reminder that we have a highly qualified consulting team here at Shin Consulting that will work with you either remotely or in person. We've started some in-person training we have Ed Hauk, who specializes in operations, purchasing, value engineering, and design centers. Rich Cashin just joined us and is working with our clients with technology review, assessments, and strategies. Rick Maurer specializes in purchasing, contract negotiation, value engineering, design centers, mark system implementation assistance. And of course, Jim, you've got to listen to him the last 45 minutes, and he specializes in management, marketing, sales, operation, finance, quality, valuation, effective ownership, leader transition, and performance excellence. All of these guys are available to meet with you in person or do the virtual coaching calls that Jim was talking about just a little bit ago. You can switch the slide, Jim. These are the variety of services we have between builder partnerships and Shin Consulting. One of our passions is bringing our builders and our manufacturers together and building relationships. And we've done that through the rebate program. This is basically a tool to help connect the builders and the manufacturers together, but it also helps us maintain training, consulting, surveys, and builder groups, which our builder groups are a great way to have a support group in the home building industry. And again, we have our data transfer that's available for anybody who's using Mark Systems or COVA. If you want more information on that, you can reach us at our office and talk to your representative for more details. Go ahead and switch the slide, Jim. These are a list of all of our manufacturers. If you are working with any of these manufacturers, please make sure you contact our builder reps here at Builder Partnerships to help you start saving more money so that you're not leaving money on the table. This is going to be an important time to make sure that you're maintaining your cash flow as much as possible with all the increasing prices. So this is a great way for you to start getting a little bit of extra money back in your pockets. And in some cases, a lot of money. We also have our Home Builder University, which kicked off this last April. Thank you, COVID. And we are going to be offering a new class starting in October. We just finished our negotiating class yesterday. It was a great success. So we have production management that will start October 6th and will run for 4 weeks. And then we also have how introduction to home building, how a successful home building business operates, and that will start on October 8th. Those two classes will run either Tuesday or Thursday for 4 weeks. And you can visit builderpartnerships.com/events for more information on our webinar Wednesdays and our HBU classes. Our next webinar will be in September, and it looks like we're going to be talking about the supply chain disruption. So that will be a great webinar. So check back at our website to get more information on that and register for that webinar. Today, we want to thank ECI again for all of their support, and we've had a great working relationship with them. If you have any questions for them, make sure you visit their website. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you again at our next webinar Wednesday. Thank you all for joining us.